All right, you should be all set.
Thanks, Kyle. So anytime you're ready to begin with the script, Joanne, you can.
Okay. Welcome to the December 7th, 2020 Planning Board Visioning Workshop. My name is Joanne Crowley, and I'm chair of the Yarmouth Planning Board. I'll begin by taking a roll call of the planning board members to establish a quorum. Brad Goodwin,
Present.
Chris Vincent, Liz Hartsgrove,
Present.
Susan Britta. Susan, you're on mute. Well, we know she's here.
Oh,
Okay,
there she is.
There we
Okay.
go. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Susan. Tom Barron,
Present.
Will Rubenstein.
Present.
With the quorum present, I will now call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, the December 7th, 2020 Planning Board Visioning Workshop is being conducted via remote participation, and no in-person attendance will be permitted. This visioning workshop is being held via the Zoom meeting platform for pre-registered participants. Unregistered participants may view this meeting while in progress through the live feed on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel. The meeting will also be posted on the Yarmouth YouTube channel for future viewing. An explanation of how remote participation will work for the pre-registered participants of this workshop will be explained in our initial presentation this evening, as well as in our breakout rooms. We'll review that once again. So I'd like to start the presentation this evening by welcoming this morning. All our meetings are at night. This morning, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your day. I have to admit, full disclosure here, some of the faces and names I know. So welcome to those of you who are people that I know, and to those I don't, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is our second workshop. We had a very successful workshop earlier, and this is our second of third. We had almost 30 members of the town community join us the last time, and I think we have an equal number or more joining us today. Before we start, I would like very much for the planning board members to introduce themselves. And then we'll have introductions of all of you once we go into the breakout rooms. We'd like to know a little bit more about each of you. Each planning board member will be heading up a breakout room. So in order to take advantage of the time constraints and to move this along as quickly as possible, we'll do your introductions as part of the breakout sessions. But for right now, I'd like each of the planning board members to give a brief overview of their town experience so far. Tom Barron.
Good morning. I'm a retired engineer, live in South Yarmouth. Interested in the water resources of the town, and also the long-term capital expenditures of the town.
Susan Britta.
good morning. My name is Susan Britta. I live in West Yarmouth. I formerly was on the zoning board and currently am on the planning commission. I'm very interested in everything that goes on in Yarmouth, but particularly economic development and especially development along Route 28.
Thank you, Susan. Brad Goodwin.
Good morning. Planning board member since 1994. This is my third visioning go around. And it's fun to see the change. Fun, let's do that in quotation marks. It's fun to see the changes that the town people have brought to the table so far between the previous two visioning changes as our society shifts. So thank you for being here this morning.
Elizabeth Hartsgrove.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Liz Hartsgrove. I live in Yarmouthport. I've been on the planning board since last October. However, I My background is in municipal government for almost 20 years here on the Cape. And I used to be actually a Yarmouth employee in the town manager's office for 5 years. So welcome, everyone. I look forward to hearing all of your thoughts.
Thank you, Liz. Will Rubenstein.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Will Rubenstein. My wife, Sandy, and I own Camp Wingate Kirkland in Yarmouthport, and we live here as well. I've been on the the planning board since August, and I am fascinated about how our town continues to provide year-round economic stabilization, not just in jobs, but in housing as well. And I'm very happy that you're all here and sharing your Monday, because look, you can't say you're not having fun on a Monday, because you are right here in the best place you could be. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Will. I don't know if Chris Vincent has joined us yet. Not yet. Okay. And my name is Joanne Crowley. You can imagine how much fun this must be with a guy like Will on your board. I mean, every meeting is a happy meeting. Thank you, Will. I live here in South Yarmouth over by Bass River. And as I mentioned, I do see some of my neighbors here today. This is my first year as chair of the planning board, but I've been on it for 2 terms now. And again, I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to go over the process that we're going to run through today. We have a couple of consultants that are helping us from the group Horsley Witten. And I'm wondering if we might either Krista or put up the very first slide, because we did the introduction of planning board members. Here we go. So we've done this. We've welcomed you all. We also have some staff here from Town Hall. Obviously, Kathy Williams, our town planner, Karen Green, our director of Community and Economic Development, Kyle Pendicini, who is also in the Economic Development Department, and our moderators today and our helpers, consultants, Krista and Nate Kelly, are going to be in and out of the workshop and the breakout rooms as we go. Kathy and they are going to run through what the visioning process is, what you got yourself into today. But the one thing I want to just mention as an opening, the whole idea behind the visioning process is to kind of set a course. That has been our logo as we produce all of our documents here, to chart a course and move towards it. The old line, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, is so true, especially for towns. So your help today is, we've got 3 main questions for you today that we'd like your inputs on. It's going to help us create what direction we want the town to move, so we can chart a course to get us there. And with that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Kathy Williams, town planner, and our consultants, who will run through the plan for this morning before we enter our breakout rooms. So thank you all again very much for joining us.
Thank you, Joanne. Yes, thank you for spending your Monday morning with us. Hopefully you'll have fun. I think people who participated in the previous workshop actually had fun. So hopefully we'll have a good morning. So as Joanne mentioned, we're looking to get your thoughts and ideas about what you want Yarmouth to be like in the future. What do you value? What do you see as challenges? And what you envision to be the best Yarmouth that we can be. But before we started to take a look at the future, we thought we would take a look at where we are right now. We've developed a lot of summary sheets. Hopefully a lot of you have been on the town website where there's a wealth of information, but we developed summary sheets on a bunch of different topics for people to get a better understanding of our community, including community services, local economy, housing, community design, open space, climate resiliency, infrastructure, and water resources. These are not meant to be a deep dive into any one topic, but they give you an idea of some notable trends, some existing programs that we have going on, and what are some of the initiatives that the town's actually working on right now. Like right now, we have a major initiative with regard to wastewater. for our water quality and nitrogen loading. The police have a community relations team that they've been working on to build better relationships between police and diverse communities. We're talking about improving our libraries, extending the Cape Cod Rail Trail. We also have numerous Mass DOT projects that are going on along Route 28, the Bass River Bridge, as well as the Four Corners right there, and a resurfacing project from the Parkers River Bridge to the Barnstable Town Line. So these are things that are underway that can really have a significant impact on what our community looks like, how it feels, and how it functions. But the planning board can't do this alone. It truly is a community-driven process, and we are really looking for your input. The planning board has developed a rather robust public engagement process, and hopefully that's why you're all here today, because that's how you heard about this. But the hub of all the latest information is that town website, where you can also sign up for updates via email and get direct updates as things are moving forward. So really, what is the goal of this process that we're working on? The goal is to get your input so that we can create a vision statement and ultimately a vision plan that expresses our community's core values and preferences that are basically our guiding principles of where we want to go in the future. These can be a lot of different viewpoints. They can be related to how people feel about our environment, how people feel about our recreational facilities, how people feel about our economy. And this vision plan will be an important guiding document for our town leaders so that they'll be able to make future decisions knowing how the town feels about things. And then ultimately, it'll also be helpful for the planning board as we move forward and develop our local comprehensive plan, which is basically our master plan for the town, where we identify specific goals and implementation strategies and timelines to get us moving forward. So the vision plan is where do we want to go? The local comprehensive plan is the how do we get there part. But right now we're in our public input and comment collection phase. And that's why we're all here today. Next slide, please. So what are we going to do with all of this information that we collect? As you'll find out as you go through the workshop, or if you've taken the survey, a lot of these are open-ended questions. So there's going to be a lot of information to process, but we're going to try to analyze it and glean some basic themes or main topics for us to develop our draft vision plan. And then we're going to further vet that in another series of workshops and a survey in June in the spring, and use that additional input to develop the full vision plan for public feedback in the fall of 2021. So I'm going to hand the presentation over to Krista Moravec of Horsley Witten.
Thank you, Joanne. I just had to make sure I was unmuted. So today's discussion, as the chair mentioned, we're going to talk in small groups, in our virtual small groups. And so as you've entered into the meeting today, you've been randomly assigned a group, and we'll have 6 of them. And each group will be led by a facilitator, and you will also have a note taker who is going to document the conversation that you're having in your group. So you don't have to do anything. Everything will look the same. You'll have the ability to mute and unmute yourself. Your video will also be there. And as the chair also mentioned, when you get into that group, into your groups, you'll introduce yourselves and you can start your conversation. So what exactly are you going to talk about? So we have 3 main questions. The first is, what are Yarmouth's strengths and assets? So in this question, we want to think about places, programs, events, traditions that really contribute to quality of life in Yarmouth. So something that's happening in town that has a positive impact on the greatest number of residents. And then we want to think about the town's weaknesses and challenges. So, thinking about economic, environmental, and social conditions, and how do these aspects impact life in Yarmouth? And are these impacts town-wide, or are they impacting a particular group of people or a particular area of town? And finally, the fun question, so what's your vision of Yarmouth? So what are your hopes for future generations in town? Do opportunities exist today that can bring that vision forward? Or are there barriers that we would have to overcome? And what are those barriers, and thinking about how we would overcome them? So obviously your tools today are your voices. So, participate as best as you can in the conversation. So we really want to hear from you, but you also have worksheets if you have received them, or you can take your own notes. And because we have limited time, this is an opportunity for you to write down all your thoughts and ideas, and you can send those to the town, and we'll have more information on how you can do that at the end of the morning. So those are your tools so you can express yourself and give us all your ideas. We do have a few ground rules just to make sure we're all in agreement. So obviously be kind and respectful to one another. Be concise. Again, we have a limited amount of time this morning. We want to be respectful of that. If you can't get any of your ideas to discuss with the small group, again, your worksheets are the opportunity to continue to provide that input to us. Be patient with technology. I think we've all learned to be that way over the last few months. If you are having some tech issues, we'll try to troubleshoot those and work through those. Mostly audio, we can figure those out. Be open to new ideas. This is an opportunity. Think of outside the box if you can. Use this as an opportunity to do that. And then we ask that you avoid side conversations in the chat, like a side conversation at the table. It can be distracting for some. So try to avoid any conversations in that piece of the Zoom platform. Oh, I apologize. And so with that, I think if the chair didn't have any more comments or Kathy didn't, I think we can sort of get going in our groups. Great, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, so hold on, everyone. And you should see something pop up. Please feel free to join your group. All right, are we all back in? I see all the squares starting to fill in. So I hope everyone had a great conversation. We had a great conversation in our group, a lot of great ideas. So what I thought we would do is sort of go around with our facilitators and ask them to talk about what their big idea was or any opportunity or challenge that really came to the forefront in their group. And I will start with Liz. And if you had someone that you had a volunteer that was willing to report out for your group, we'd ask them.
Well, I kind of volunteered him.
That's the best way to do it.
We had a really wonderful discussion, and yes, I have volunteered Jim Cullen to. He summed it up absolutely beautifully at the end, and so I will hand it over to Jim.
Thanks, Liz. Our group's future vision for Yarmouth is a community of learning, living, and loving, and we will build on our strengths to reach that vision. First one, a vibrant school system that integrates with the community entirely at all generations, races, etc. Second bullet, a vibrant business, cultural, and religious community that all connect with. And thirdly, a community that respects each other and our natural resources and those others around us beyond the town of Yarmouth. And that's our plug for regionalism. So that's our summation of our idea for the future of Yarmouth.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Jim.
Sure, you're welcome.
All right, I'm going to continue down our facilitator list. And how about Joanne, our chair?
Hello, everyone. We also had a very lively group and some interesting topics that hadn't been raised in our first session came up. And then there were some repeats. So we can see that there are various elements of the voices in town that see common issues, common strengths. We did hear about some new concerns, which we'll have on our summary of our data sheets. But in particular, I would put an overall theme of the environment on our group. We're very I was concerned about and willing to make changes to get Yarmouth to be a greener community in a host of different ways. Appreciation of conservation lands, walkways, bikeways, trails. And Karen was kind enough to take all of our notes on the vision, and we just went through our summary of the vision just before we broke. So Karen, if I could impose on you to run through what we just ran through with the group on our vision statement as our group progressed.
Okay, happy to. We had a number of different points. The need to create two distinct visits. I wrote visits, it's villages in West Yarmouth and South Yarmouth. To emphasize that Yarmouth is a multi-generational town with needs for affordable housing, clean water, and year-round economy, perhaps leveraging ecotourism, building on the great natural assets that Joanne just ran through. Again, emphasizing Yarmouth as a year-round destination, also a year-round vacation destination. The green emphasis to make Yarmouth more of a green community, addressing some of the barriers being lack of infrastructure, as well as need for additional education that a lot of times people just don't know how feasible some of the green initiatives can be. Green, including embracing technology. There was an interesting comment that we've lost so many young people, but through the past year, we've been able to see how the additional technological utilization due to COVID has enabled maybe more opportunity to retain some of those young people. And again, building on leveraging good programming at our schools. So it's a bit of a ramble, but I'll get to there.
That's a lot of great ideas. Thank you so much, Karen. I'm going to continue down my list, and I have, so Brad was next. So Brad and I teamed up in our group. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say. We did have a volunteer to report out for us, and that was Marie.
Take it away, Marie.
Okay. We had a very thoughtful discussion, and I really hope I'm representing all the wonderful ideas that came up. Basically, there were two main things that I can summarize. One is the need for an identity for the town. That we have kind of an amorphous identity that's not well established, especially in the Route 28 area. And in that light, we discussed having an effort to come up with some kind of a town's logo or signage that can be used to help us identify as a town. That would include not just the quaint Cape Cod idea, but we use the word fun and goofy. We use, because 28 has fun and goofy places. We use fun and groovy and spiffy, because we have a very colorful identity on Route 28. But also taking in the idea of it being an oceanfront community and having a history, a very long history in the town. So identity is very important. And so the other thing that we discussed quite a bit was having a town center. And with that in mind came the idea of how do you find a focal point. One suggestion was across from the town hall, and then we learned that that property was already owned privately. So we talked about a couple places. There's the green spaces on 28. We talked about what we would have in a town center. That could be like a bandstand, a gathering place. Was brought up, well, what do you bring people in to do there? And reference was made to other towns, villages, like stores, shops. So we do have a challenge on 28 since it's so spread out. There was some discussion about the villages all having their own town center. So that was brought up, but also maybe having just the 28 as being a focal point. I think that was where the weight of the discussion ended up going. There was also a suggestion that was well appreciated for directions for new residences when someone moves into the town, how they get their bills, how the dump works, things like that. So what was not really focused on, just as historic reference, we didn't talk about pickleball, and we didn't talk about having a town pool or a central library. So, although the library idea did come up, I think the majority of people felt that the sub-library still held a village identity, and people wanted to support that. So right now we do have a town saying we're the middle of the Cape, or we're in the middle, or whatever the Chamber of Commerce came up with. But we were suggesting that the town governance head up an idea of coming up with an identity for the town, to engage people in the town, to create an identity that people will easily be able to recognize when they come in as visitors or people who live here. So I hope that represents what we discussed.
Thank you so much, Marie. I really appreciate you volunteering. Next on my facilitator list is Tom. Tom, did you facilitate a group, or did Chris join us?
I did it,
Okay.
Krista.
Thank you.
Yeah, and our group, in terms of strengths and assets, almost universally agreed that our coastal environment, our water resources, our waterways are one of the biggest assets, as well as our historical assets, which unfortunately are not being emphasized as much as they should be. In terms of challenges, the aging infrastructure, the wastewater cost, the lack of sidewalks are thrown in the same mix. The question of affordable housing is a major topic. Route 28 is a mess, and that is probably the biggest challenge we face. In terms of future, the suggestions have been for developing more businesses, getting light industry, improving the DY image between towns. And one comment was that we are, as a town, we're at a crossroads psychologically, that we're trying too hard to become like the rest of Cape Cod. The uniqueness for the town is slipping. We need to try to assert ourselves. Perhaps the comment that I heard just a moment ago, getting a better slogan for the town might be most helpful. But the idea is the word a unified vision of where we're going, and that certainly is what the visioning process is all about.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate that. Very good. Next, I have Susan.
Susan had to head out to work, so I'm going
Okay.
to read out for us. I think we had some of the similar comments from other people. First one had to do with affordability for our people so that we can work and live here. I think that's something that we've heard before. Route 28 was also discussed at quite a bit of a length with regard to what it looks like and how we can improve it, not just improving it in the actual private development, but also related to Mass DOT and what they can do to improve Route 28, all again, talking about the walkability and the bikeability. We also talked about creating that village center so people can walk and park, walk, and play, so you don't have to be using the traffic so much along Route 28. We also had a discussion on branding of the town, which is kind of interesting. That came up a lot, it seems like, in this particular workshop, of really encouraging Yarmouth as being that family-friendly destination. We have a lot of family-friendly destination opportunities here, but also promoting our environmental and natural beauty, even like things like the sailing center, all the golf that we have, and in addition to all the walking trails and the beaches and that type of thing. Having a sustainable community was also discussed quite a bit, including protecting our undisturbed lands that we have now in our forested areas and having them remain that way. We also did talk a little bit about having some type of community pool or enhancing senior programming. But I think one of the things that kind of was talked about also was not just senior programming, but maybe programming for children to kind of educate them about what's going on in the Cape Cod with regard to the environment, climate change, and our nitrogen issues. That might be something that they would like to learn about. So that's about it.
That's great. Lots of points hit on that one. Thank you, Kathy. And our last but not least group was with Will. And I think you might still be on mute, Will. I see. I think
Will, we can't hear you. Perhaps Nate could read out, Krista?
Yeah, if we're having technical difficulties, Will, I can just wrap it up real quick if that's okay.
No, that's impossible. You couldn't
Oh,
possibly
there you
do
go.
that.
There he is.
No, I was just going to say, I don't want to read out a whole catalog because you deserve better. What I will say is I really like the vision statement that we did agree to share. So Nate, with your permission. Cool. So try this one on. It's almost as good as Jim's. Not quite, but I really like it. And it is to maintain and build the tradition of enjoying a safe, affordable, and friendly Yarmouth for current and future generations. I'll just do a pen drop. So it was a really healthy discussion. Nate was incredible because he allowed me to yak on, but more importantly, he let the group also share a lot. And I'm really glad we had a chance to do this, and I hope that those things that we couldn't and didn't get a chance to discuss will certainly be collected and captured, which I know we'll talk about. But Group 6 was awesome.
All right, excellent. So we can talk about with that. I thank you all. I'm gonna put up my screen again so we can talk about next steps. Just give me. And I didn't know if, pardon my forgetfulness, but if Joanne or Kathy wanted to take this on, I'm happy to go through this.
I think Joanne was going to close out.
Okay.
Unless she's gone.
Did she have to?
Perhaps she's gone.
Okay.
Oh, there she is.
The next steps for this, each of you have we hope, have got worksheets I mentioned in my breakout group that please consider adding to what you've contributed today. You can email us at the visioning email that you see here, planning division at Town Hall. You can drop off your questionnaires. There is a blue drop box at the entrance that we pick up every day. So as we go through this process, this is meant to be iterative. We would like to hear from you as we go through this. We'll be reporting back out as to what our results here from all of the workshops have been, and we will try to keep you as best informed as we can. Your continued involvement is very important for us. Next steps, we have another workshop coming up next week. And in addition, our visioning survey is now multilingual, and we have editions in Portuguese and Spanish. And we would ask that any of you who have the opportunity to reach out to those members of the community who speak Spanish and Portuguese, prefer to speak Spanish and Portuguese, that we try to get as many of those surveys out to our community members as possible. And again, our website is there, which is right on the header of the town website in total. So after this, we have one more workshop, as I mentioned, and then we will be compiling all of the information we've received through these workshops and the surveys that have been presented so far. And we're going to identify all the key issues and challenges, kind of our assets and liabilities, as I mentioned before, and opportunities to change. We will then, from that information, draft a preliminary vision statement, and we'll have another series of workshops to talk about that draft statement. So, as I mentioned before, this is meant to be a very iterative process, and we want to keep you involved. We have your emails, so we will be reaching out to you as we go through this. And again, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate all of your efforts, one and all.
Joanne,
Yes, Tom?
Joanne, there had been a question of where people could find the worksheets. That bears some reference right now. I answered the question that it is in the contact information that each one of us have been given. But if, in case there were any questions, Kathy, do you have anything further to add to that?
Yeah, if you go to the visioning website there, you'll see there'll be a little thing called workshop worksheets. So you can click on that and they're fillable PDFs. So you can just fill them out and then you can send them to us electronically through the visioning at yarmouth.ma.us. I do want people to know that the survey that's out there now, please let all your friends know not only about the workshop, but about the survey, because that's going to be open through January 15th. So we're going to be collecting that information for a little bit longer. So if people can't come to the workshops, we'd like to certainly get their input through the survey. And there are hard copies of the survey that are available here at Town Hall in all 3 languages if people would like copies because they don't do it electronically. That's it.
Okay, so I think we've completed the workshop for today. I have to have a formal close since this was an official meeting of the planning board. None of you have to hang around for that except planning board members, but I do need to do a roll call on the change. And again, thank you so much for spending your Monday morning with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you to our consultants as well. Thank you, Krista and Nate. So may I have a motion to close the meeting, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded? Tom
Second.
Barron?
Will.
I think Will gets it just for the.
No, it's okay.
For sure.
No, please. Whatever you wish, Tom, I defer.
Roll call. Tom Barron?
Present.
Susan Britta, I know, has left. Brad Goodwin? I thought he was still here. Elizabeth Hartsgrove?
Aye.
Will Rubenstein?
Aye.
Chris Vincent?